Time for another look at the NFL AFC playoff race heading into Week 5. The calculations come from the Playoff Computer app. Check it out if you want to make your fantasy football playoff race as exciting as the NFL's. It gives commissioners a bunch of intel for weekly recaps and can show teams exactly where they stand before blowing their fab budget. And new this year, you can analyze a bunch of pro leagues, including the NFL, do what-ifs for your favorite teams, make better videos than the one you're watching, and the best part is, the premium level is about the price of one beer for an entire year. Okay, let's dive into the AFC. One thing we will keep in the back of our mind is the interconference game records. The AFC reps played their NFC counterparts even over 8 games in Week 4, but still trail by 6 teams. If that trend continues, that could lower the bar for a team to sneak into a wildcard spot with a suboptimal record. Anyway, moving on. The team in the AFC with the highest statistical chance to make the playoffs is, of course, the remaining undefeated team in the AFC, the Buffalo Bills. The Saints put up a fight, but the Bills managed to win, so 4-0. Only one other team in the AFC East that looks even moderately capable of playing NFL caliber football. That puts them already at 2/3 chance to win the division and 84% to make the playoffs. They've already beaten 2 of their division opponents, and they will have a chance this week to sweep the first round at home against the Patriots. Win, and their odds for the division would increase to around 82%. Lose, and we might possibly have a race on our hands here. The Chargers suffered a injury-riddled loss to the Giants to blow a chance to keep the Chiefs at arm's length distance. With the Broncos also closing in, they might be the losers of the week as their division odds fell to around even and about 7 out of 10 to make the playoffs. They do hold one trump card, and that is they have already beaten the rest of the division once, so they can't lose the head-to-head tiebreaker within the division, which is what puts them ahead of the other 3-1 teams in the AFC. Still early, but computer says something between 10 and 12 wins should be good for the division, and 9 to 10 wins for them to make the playoffs. The Chargers take on the Commanders this week. If Jaden is back, I'm not sure I'd bet on the Chargers with their O-line injury issues. The Indianapolis Colts come in next, also losing unbeaten status and losing a lead over the Jaguars in the standings. They still are perfect in the conference, which gives them a slight edge, and the earlier win over Denver cannot hurt when it comes time to playoff tiebreak time. The Colts have an excellent opportunity to pile up wins. Raiders and Cardinals at home, then a game with the Chargers, then the currently winless Titans. If we what-if wins against those teams not named Chargers, and said right now they would be 6-2, that would be close to a 9-10 chance to make the playoffs. So far, the King of Darkness retreats is looking like a good signing by the Pittsburgh Steelers, or at least good enough. Sitting at 3-1 with the closest competitor being the Burrow-less Bengals, and having the expected leader Ravens now sitting at 1-3, makes the Steelers the winners of the week. Mathematically 50-50 to win the division, 2 out of 3 to make the playoffs. On a good pace to get to around 10 wins, at least for the playoffs, as they return from Ireland for their bye. Big division games will await them when they return to the field. Browns and Bengals. And although one would think those are easy wins, if there's one thing I know, it is to never think one can predict an AFC North game. The Jaguars are up next, kind of under the radar at 3-1. Their defense led them to a win over the 49ers, but that was just test one of a brutal stretch of opponents. Chiefs, Seahawks, and Rams next before their bye, but all at home. Going to need you to take one of those to stay well within the picture. If they can somehow take two, they might not remain under the radar. After this, their remaining schedule does get easier, so just going 1-2 over this stretch might be okay. The Cincinnati Bengals feel like dead man walking right now, even though mathematically they are in the best shape of the 2-2 teams. Things might not be getting any better soon. Lions, Packers, Steelers next. Unless they find a way out of this funk, 2-5, and goes down to about a 20% chance of making the playoffs. A 2-2 team with a brighter outlook is the Kansas City Chiefs. Destroyed the Ravens to erase that 0-2 start. That brings them back to close to even odds to make the playoffs. Still have the loss to the division-leading Chargers to avenge. Not completely out of the woods yet. Have that sneaky 3-1 Jaguars team next. Then host the Lions. So will they tread water for a couple of games? Will they go back to being 2 games under 500? Or will Mahomes' magic make its appearance? The Broncos also got back to even, beating the Bengals. So far, all 4 games have been in the conference, so the all-important conference record is 2-2 as well. Do have a loss against the Chargers that hampers the division odds. Have a tough game in Philly this week, but then some winnable games against the 2 New Jersey teams and the Cowboys. 5-3 would be a decent place to be and put them halfway towards the likely 10 wins needed for the playoffs. The New England Patriots handily dispensed with the Panthers to stay right smack dab in the middle of the scrum, although they did actually drop a spot on the list here even with the win. That Raiders loss is going to loom large, I think. They have their chance this week to try to say we belong at the adults table with a game against the Bills. Watch out if they win. Heck, maybe still watch out even if they lose. They follow this with the Saints, Titans, and Browns, as at least on paper with current records, they have the easiest remaining schedule in the conference. 44% chance to make the playoffs as it stands now. The Houston Texans saved their season, at least for 1 week, with a win over the hapless Titans. Still in deep trouble, likely need to finish 9-4 to make the playoffs. And they face the Ravens, Seahawks, and 49ers sandwiched around their bye over the next few. Still have games with the Bills, Chiefs, and Chargers later on. I'm not sure I can find 9 wins in the remaining schedule. But between them and the Ravens, somebody is 1-4 and in a whole lot of trouble. One of several disappointments so far has been the Raiders and their experiment with Geno Smith. Lost a heartbreaker to the Bears to fall to 1-3, which in the AFC West is almost a death sentence. They're going to need to pull out an upset against the Colts this week. Then they do get the Titans at home. That would get them to 3-3 for a game against the Chiefs before their bye. Otherwise, I probably don't need the computer to say what their chances would be at 2-5. The Ravens dropped to 1-3, which is bad enough, but they now have a Lamar injury issue as well. Now, with losses to both the Bills and the Chiefs, I guess the good news is they got them out of the way. As I mentioned earlier, with this week's game against the Texans, one of these 1-3 teams will become 1-4. If the Ravens do lose, that would put their playoff odds down to less than 1-5, with it being a very unhelpful 1-3 conference record. The Cleveland Browns' good times lasted exactly 1 week, as they were pulverized by the Lions. Somehow the team that had half the quarterbacks in the world on their roster can't seem to find one that can help them win games. Maybe escaping the Rust Belt will give them a fresh outlook as they take on the Vikings in London. Now, if they can somehow get their act together, they would next have a never know what's going to happen in the AFC North game against the Steelers. So while I might make jokes, I'm not removing them from the playoff discussion just yet. The Miami Dolphins were one of several teams to win the battle, but may have lost the war in Week 4 with the Tyreek Hill injury. The win at least keeps them in the discussion for the time being. They do play the Panthers, so a 2-game winning streak is not out of the picture. Right now, 1-4 mathematical chance to make the playoffs. I think we can rule out the division at this point in time. The Titans are 0-4, and I can't think of much of anything to give them any hope. They play Arizona this week. Okay, I thought of something. If there's one team that can lower itself to its opponent's level, it is the Arizona Cardinals. So nothing will surprise me with this game. Okay, hear me out. The New York Jets are 0-4. They have an 11% chance to make the playoff as it stands right now. They're basically already eliminated from the AFC East division race. Not much is going right. Heck, it might be nothing is going right. But if they haven't already given up, and I know that's a big ask, let us look at the remaining schedule. Only 2 games against opponents that are currently above 500. Cowboys this week, certainly a chance to get on the board. Also have Carolina in a couple weeks. The Bengals, the Browns, the Patriots, never know there. A rematch with the Dolphins, the Saints, and another one with the Patriots. What I'm saying, I don't have to dig into somebody's stash to dream up a world in which they get 7 wins, not including those against the games against the Broncos and Patriots. So obviously 7 wins isn't going to be good, but if they can win all the games that should be within reach and manage to beat the Broncos and Jaguars, which again is asking for a lot, that at least gives them a chance at 9-8. Right now, if I plug in 9-8 into the computer, it's 50-50 to make the playoffs. But if the NFC repeats its strong interconference performance from last year, 9 wins does look a little better. So if there's one 0-4 team that I think still has a chance, here it is. If you put down whatever 1,000 to 1 bet on them it is and it hits, please remember me in your likes and subscribes. That's it for now. Check out the Playoff Computer app for all your own playoff race analysis needs and enjoy your day.